Hi, everyone. I'm going to be reading from The Sky Was Once a Dark Blanket, and then I'm going to read two pieces that are from the anthology. So I want to start with the first poem from the collection. So the collection itself was coming from a place where I was always being told what Native music was. Um, and in college, whenever I went to school, that understanding was very limited and very two-dimensional, right? That's like very it's flute music or like, it's stuff from archives. Um, and everything I think I was coming across as a scholar, right? Scholars treat archives as very, very historicized or very contained artifacts. And as a Native woman, to me, and to other Native people and people of color who are usually going through archives, um, it's living. It's a living being you're interacting with. You're interacting with people across time. And so entering this collection, I was thinking about Native music and I was thinking about how Native music is anything that we want it to be. It can be country you listen to with your parents. It can be rock and roll, and there's also this great lineage of poets and musicians and artists who were coming before. And so I think the work was also rooted in honoring like kind of like it was its own remix of that, or it was its own interlude, or how were the poems working basically. So the first poem is taking us out of the canon we're used to, when canon a lot of white writers, a lot of white authors were taught, taking us out of that, putting us into my canon. So I'll start with the poem and then I'll read through to my next one. But it's rooting us. We're starting with Jimi Hendrix, and we're starting with Jimi Hendrix's Star Spangled Banner. Spangled. Enough about you. Airwaves in bloom, mouthpiece on fire. I must sing the hum of the yucca and icy heartbeat of river. I must sing our grandparents' blues knocked down in the grasses and thick in the farmhouse. Oh, like Jimmy's guitar, I must sing. Dirty, sing, blister, let the sound rip the sky. Rush of birds spooked from deep in our throats, our song. 1. August. My mother's soft instrument. I'm stomping at 11 a.m. on God's holiest day, my grandmother turning up her hands in something like protest, her face just softened by the rainbow of a smile. Oh, joy! I overturn the sweet peas in the garden with my bare feet, instruments of disaster, instruments of my mother, who used to sneak out to border towns and line dance with cowboys. We missed the days the rain fell on our foreheads and the kettle boiled over. When I want to call up the memory of these women, I sit with the familiar orchestra of scratched up CDs. Shh, just there. The instruments of our own destruction and births. Umbilical cords, planting season. I want to roll in the mud and be a mother. I want the seeds to two-step on my skin. Thank you. And I'm going to move on to You Survived the End of the World in Kayenta, Arizona with Your Mother. And I wrote this, I was writing this book, I was really going through it. Um, I struggled with, and I struggle with today, anxiety and depression and suicidal ideation. And so this was a point in time where I was really struggling with some of those things. And to like this poem came from a place where there was a moment sitting in the Blue Coffee Pot, which is a place in Kayenta that we go to when we go to Monument Valley or we're going to visit a relative or a school there. And it was just a moment where I had to like look around and just like appreciate where I was and what was happening. And poetry can do that for us. It roots us in the world around us, so we stop being so internalized about everything. And so it takes our gaze and it forces it to the external, but you're not ignoring yourself because you're inherently connected to that. So this is you survived the end of the world in Kayenta, Arizona with your mother in the blue coffee pot. The waitress sets two tall plastic Coke cups of water before you both. Today, everyone must be especially generous. All around, Nollies with their tight CFs and jewels and long velvet skirts that brush the floor. Your mother says the turquoise teardrops are a shield. Never take them off. The women smile at their grandchildren. They don't sit with any husbands. You've become attuned again to their little song. Your mother says to you that a plate of mutton will cure any ailment. You both eat with your hands. You could have cried. Later, it's back up to Monument Valley where the rocks look like women hushed together. KTNN buzzes. I wanted to be your everything. The only station for miles. Rock formations give nothing away. Not everything you think. Your mother tells you to use the grease left on your hand to heal your lips. You smear your fingers across an eye instead, and then the other. The monuments flicker, and you hum a song about women with straight backs and eyelashes pretty with rain. A song you heard most while your grandmother still lived, and the roosters rampaged in her yard as she bent over the fire with cardboard and a poker, and your mother smiled and swayed you on her hip, looking off towards the mountain, feeding you mutton with her hands. And this is Indian Heartbreak Song, because we all go through heartbreak. Indian Heartbreak Song after Joy Harjo. Albuquerque phone booth. Next door, a boy I loved who loved my cousin. It's only funny if you're not an Indian. The desert teaches us not to give all of ourselves away. Wish I'd remembered burning pinyon and clay deposit before I dreamed cool rush of river that dries in August and frogs that disappear for 8 months or more at a time. I have loved you, he said, since before I have known you. Letters gutted, monarch wings on the highway as Albuquerque skated past and the phone booths whipped by, small blue spines, and I, swept up from the line, lifted high by a gale, brought too far from a shoulder of water. Okay, so we're going to move into a happier section. There's a lot of poems in this about grief and about mourning and about loss. And there's a sense, I think, that permeates all of that, which is longing. And longing, I think, has the capacity to lead us towards something very beautiful. And so a lot of these poems that are filled with longing are usually leaning towards memory or song or something that's happening, like a portal is opening into something more beautiful or filled with hope. So I'm going to read just a few more. I'm going to do Theme for the Nautical Cowboy. So this is like a moment. The whole Southwest used to be an ocean. And so what that means is there's all of these living things that are there through the past, through the present, through the future. You can see them all at once. And that scale of beauty is something that I think causes a sense of wonder every single time I'm there. And so that significance and that sense of almost time traveling back to when, prehistoric animals and beings lived there and the sense that they're there still is something that I think is really beautiful. And so this is kind of like adventuring through that landscape, Theme for the Nautical Cowboy. My mother wouldn't let me go to the rodeo when I was younger. So I jet off with my girl and her truck to a George Strait song. It's in our cosmology to chase the tails of dogs over the horizon. The sky stretches, map of strange stars. I list the star signs of my exes, none of them from Texas. We cheers our Baja Blasts. Almost all sacred things are blue. Baja Blasts. Baby blue, you joke you'll never date a white boy. You sing a song to shit straight hair and nighttime eyes. The compass needle stays glued to the moon. I catch your eyes in every mirror. There was once a prehistoric ocean all around us, even whales. We puff out the great swimming shapes of their bodies. This layer of rock, trilobites, this layer some ancient eel, how small we are, how funny. Massive fish ghosts vibrate to George Strait. Time is read backwards in the rock body, oldest to the top, magma pushing what's fresh to the surface. Your hand skims the deep blue sandstone, these long cooled shells, teardrop, turquoise sliver of horizon, the creeping river invisible in the dark. Here's to you, here's to you, ancient and alive. The sky stretches full of old and older ghosts, our once and forever waiting pool. Thank you. That's all I'm going to read from my collection, but I would love to read now two poems that spoke to me from the anthology. And so the first one is by Omar, and it's called The Fear of Love. Love is a word that easily skims through our lips. Girls cut their wrists and dudes kill for it. I sit in the county jail cell. I write your name on the wall. With this tonight, I disgrace myself. I speak to you with my soul, but you just standing there staring and the doors closing. I stay in the street with no money. Nobody knows my name and nobody cares. I think about the past to get to my future. I stay paranoid with the fear of losing you. I would lose my life for you, to show my love for you. But I couldn't leave you with no one to love. And that's dedicated to their family and their loved ones. And so I was reading that because I think that turn at the end of the poem, I couldn't leave you with no one to love, is I think a feeling that a lot of people struggle with, is like that reciprocal love, that there is someone that would grieve us. There is an absence that would be felt. And the fear, how deeply fear and love can be entangled in one another. But even that fear, which I think this poem pulls forth, like that fear itself is an act of love. Like to be afraid to leave someone alone, or to be afraid of the power of those feelings, to be afraid of doors closing, is an exercise in love. And so I can feel that through that poem. And then this is by Esperanza. This is called My Roots. Half of my family is in Mexico. The other half is here. I was born and raised in Seattle, surrounded by tall pine trees, rivers, and mountains, where the sun shines and hides in the winter months. The rain is abundant and keeps everything green. However, I'm disconnected from my family in Mexico. They only hear the bad things, not the good things. They do not know I am an artist. I play the bass like nobody's business. I tried to follow the footsteps of my family, but they don't know that. I got in a fight with my father. My grandmother doesn't like me either. My Spanish isn't that good. But the music in me sings through my fingers. When I play my emotions on the bass, I like the deep tones. the ones deep as the feelings in my heart. I want to say what I feel if they would just listen, but I can always be the artist I already know I am because I take pride in the roots deep down in the soil wherever I walk. Hopefully, the page and poems and books, whatever you love, is a space for you to find solace, to find gratitude, to sit with yourself and understand that you're dealing with it the best way that you can. And those moments of reflection are deeply important to how we heal ourselves and the people in the world around us. So, thank you again. I will continue to do that work, and I encourage you to. And just know that you're not alone. There's so many people doing that work as well. And we're going to do the best we can to make the world a better place for all of us. So, yeah, thank you.